Okay, for lesson 11, we're going to show multiplying decimals on a place value chart and then on an area model. So, I'm pretty sure on your paper I did not give you enough place value charts. So we can always just write below this one, or you can draw a new one maybe on the back or something. But the first problem is 3 times 2/10, and we already know the answer to 3 times 2 is 6. But I want to show you how we know where the decimal goes in the problem. So, I like to think of the multiplication sign as groups of. Now, on the paper or on the lesson, it says copies of. So if you ever hear the word copies of, it's the same thing as groups of. So make 3 groups of 2/10. So 1 group, 2 groups, 3 groups. And the answer to that would be 6/10. This kind of reminds me of arrays when we multiply decimals on a place value chart. Okay, so I'm going to write the next one. I'm just going to draw a line. The next one says 3 groups of 3/10. So I will go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So 3 groups of 3/10 equals 9/10. Now, what if I have 4 groups of 3/10? So let's just extend this a little bit longer. And I'm going to do 4 groups of 3 this time, but it's 3/10. Now you know when we get to the number 10, we have to regroup. So I'm going to count out 10, regroup. So that gives me 1 and 2/10 for my answer. Now you probably remember me saying that you can just count over how many place values to the right of the decimal, which is 1, and that's where you place your decimal in your answer. So let's do this last one using the standard algorithm. Okay, 3/10 times 4. 3 times 4 is 12. Remember, I have 1 digit to the right of the decimal, so my answer is 1 and 2/10. 3 copies of 2/10 is 1 and 2/10. Okay, let's look at the next one. Now on these, we're going to start using the area model. I really like the area model. In fact, last year we kind of did a little art project in the hall with the area model, so we'll probably do that again, but it will be new and improved this year. Okay, so I'm not sure why I went ahead and put the answer on here, but let's show it on the place value chart. 2 groups of 43 hundredths. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 43 hundredths, and I've got 2 groups of it. Now it looks to me like there's no regrouping. I'm just going to count 6 and 8, so it's 86 hundredths. Let's do, so draw a line. And let's do the next problem. 2 groups of 423 thousandths. Looks like I better get something else on here, huh? Okay, so 2 groups of, so I've got 423, 423. So 2 groups of 423 thousandths is 846 thousandths. Now, what if I have 4 groups of that? So I'm just going to add some more here until I have 4 rows going down. The next problem is 4 groups of 423 thousandths. Now I'm going past 10. So I've got to regroup. So I'm going to regroup 10. Two, 4, 6, 8, 9. Regroup 10. So my answer is 1 and 692 thousandths. How does this look using the standard algorithm? I'm going to write it right here. 423 thousandths. How many digits to the right of the decimal? 3. Let's remember that. Times 4. 3 times 4 is 12. 2 times 4 is 8, 9. 4 times 4 is 16. 1, 2, 3, decimal. Okay, so now let's go back to the first one and put it on the area model. This is a long, skinny area model, but it will work. Okay, so when I put it on the area model, I'm always going to put my whole number on the side. So 2 groups of. And then I've got 3 place values that I have to illustrate. I've got the tenths place right here. This is the tenths place. I've got the hundredths place and the thousandths place. Okay, so draw your lines and get that on there. And then, how many tenths do I have? 4 tenths, 2 hundredths, and 3 thousandths. Now, the really fun thing about the area model is, all I do now is multiply. 4 times 2 is 8. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 3 is 6. And I've got my answer. So I've got 8 tenths, 4 hundredths, and 6 thousandths. And that's what we got when we did it on the place value chart. Okay, now let's take the place value chart out of the strategy and let's just use the area model. Okay, so for this area model, let's do the first one. The problem is 6 times 1, 1, 2 tenths, and 1 hundredth. So get that on your area model. So 6 times 1 is 6 ones. 6 times 2 is 12 tenths, or 1 and 2 tenths. And 6 times 1 is 6 hundredths. Okay, so here's what I have to add together. And last year when I taught this, the kids often forgot they had to add these things together. So I have to add 6 ones plus 12 tenths, and let's write it in standard form, plus 6 hundredths. Okay, now this is pretty much like we were doing on the warm-up activities. Let's do our first part of the problem first. What's 6 plus 1 and 2 tenths? The answer is 7 and 2 tenths. Now let's add 7 and 2 tenths to 6 hundredths. So that would be 7 and 26 hundredths. All right, let's try the next problem. Should we check this using the standard algorithm? I'm kind of curious. times 6. All right, how many place values to the right of my decimal? 2. We're going to remember that. 1 times 6 is 6. 2 times 6 is 12. 1 times 6 is 6, plus 1 is 7. So did we do it right with the area model? Yes, we did. Okay, I want to try the next 2 problems, but I want you to just draw an area model on the back of your paper. So on the back of your paper, you're going to do 7 times 2 ones, 4 tenths, and 100. Okay, so 7 times 2 is 14 ones. 7 times 4 is 28 tenths. How do I write that as a decimal? 2 and 8 tenths. 7 times 100 is 7 hundredths. Now I add all of this together. So 14 ones, you put the decimal there if that helps you. 2 and 8 tenths plus 7 hundredths. Okay, let's add the first 2 together first. 14 plus 2.8 is 16.8 plus 7 hundredths. So I will just add a 7 to the hundredths place. 16 and 87 hundredths. Now, let's check it using the standard algorithm. So 2 and 41 hundredths. By the way, how many digits to the right of the decimal? 2 times 7. All right, and the decimal in the 7 is on the right, so we don't have to count any digits over there because 0 doesn't really count. 7 times 1 is 7. 4 times 7, 28. 2 times 7, 14. Plus 2, 16. 2 digits to the right of the decimal. So my answer is 16 and 87 hundredths. And that's what we got when we did the area model. One more, boys and girls. Okay, 8 times, or 8 groups of 2 ones, 3 tenths, and 4 hundredths. So 8 times 2, 16 ones. 8 times 3, 24 tenths. 8 times 4, 32 hundredths. Okay, this one looks kind of complicated. So let's rewrite 24 tenths as a decimal, 32 hundredths as a decimal, and 16 ones is already written correctly. So we've got 16 plus 2.4 plus 32 hundredths. So let's add the first 2 first. What's 16 plus 2? 18.4 plus 32 hundredths. So I will add a 3 to the tenths place and a 2 to the hundredths place. So it's going to be 18 and 3 plus 4 is 7, and a 2, 8 and 7, 18 and 72 hundredths. All right, let's check it using the standard algorithm. By the way, how many digits to the right of the decimal? Always write it down and circle it, then you won't forget. 4 times 8, 32. 3 times 8, 24. Plus 3, 27. 2 times 8, 16. Plus 2, 18. I wrote a 2 or 2 digits to the right of the decimal, so my answer is 18 and 72 hundredths.